It's a good day for a good day. Hello, everybody. My name's Cece Ray. Thanks for joining me here at Break the Dish, where we break the news and dish out the tea. We are recapping The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Season 15, Episode 16. Oh, boy. They're still in Italy. We're coming off Kyle just being Kyle. And I have a lot to say. But before we get into it, you know what to do. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, because here we break the dish. We are recapping The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Season 15, Episode 16. Oh boy, I can't even believe we've gotten here this far. But we are picking it up right where we left off. And that is a dinner from hell, literally. Kyle just decided to tell Dorit, stop riding my ass all the time. And we're picking it up from there. So Kyle now is talking about the conversation she had with Bose about Dorit's financials, and they recap where Bose is on the phone with Kyle and she says, I think her name is on the debt, houses, cars, and she doesn't know how much money is being netted out. That's what she said on the conversation, on the phone call. And Bose says to Dorit, I am concerned about your financials. You and I have had this discussion, and, I believe that Kyle is concerned. Really, Bose? You think Kyle's concerned? Okay. And she says, but I apologize if I broke, your trust in me, or spoke when I shouldn't have spoken. And Dorit, says, I appreciate that. And Kyle goes, well, of course you appreciate that from Bose. And in Kyle's confessional, she says, Dorit lives and breathes to find a problem with me. And, Dorit is now saying to Kyle, you were just talking to everybody. And she said, Erika's sitting across from Dorit. And Dorit looks at Erika and she's like, she said it to you, she said it to a bunch of people. She's like, didn't she come to you and tell you I was erratic, overspending? Erika's like, yeah, she did. And I said, she's overwhelming. She's overwhelmed. Dorit says, see, you said it to her. You said it to a whole bunch of people behind my back, And Dorit says to Kyle, you think you're gonna bully me? I'm not going to accept it, and it's not okay. Kyle's like, what are you talking about? And so then Rachel kind of says in her confessional, it hurts more when, you say everyone thinks something. It's damaging. It's like mean girl stuff. And even though I'm not saying that Kyle's trying to be a mean girl. Okay, Rachel. It's true. It really aggravates the situation. So Kyle is saying, any conversation I've had, they've all been saying the same thing. It was a mutual thing. Dorit says Erika said the conversation with her, and she said, I'm overwhelmed. Well, Erika says, overwhelmed is erratic. Is it the same definition? I'm not quite sure about that. So then Sutton is like, stop with using the word erratic. She said, I've been called erratic so many times in this group, which is true. She really has. She really has been called erratic a lot of times. Sutton's been kind of quiet this season, I think anyway. So Dorit's like, I don't believe erratic. That's something I've been going through a lot. The last few months I have shared. It's not like I've not been telling you. It's not like I've been telling you everything's perfect when you see me overwhelmed. You're not showing me any grace. Kyle says to Dorit, us sitting on that tarmac for an hour and a half, yeah, that's us showing you grace. Okay, I gotta agree with Kyle on that one. You know what I mean? And Dorit said, I didn't say that I was sorry. Sutton's like, you didn't even say hello. And then they show you Dorit coming onto the plane, and all she says is, show me where to sit. It's true. And so Dorit says, well, I will apologize to everyone right now. So she goes around the table as she's looking at each person, saying their names. And she skips Amanda. Well, let me tell you something. Kyle, like, with a vengeance, comes at Dorit, and she's like, Amanda? Because she had not said Amanda's name. Dorit says, oh, I'm so sorry. I would not have skipped over you. Sutton's head was in front of you, and I just didn't see you sitting there. Kyle's like, how could you skip Amanda when she's right in front of you? I mean, Kyle is reaching. She really is reaching. And I agree with Dorit in this confessional, by the way. Dorit says, Kyle is on a mission to make me look bad. First defending PK, speaking to all the women about me behind my back instead of straight to me. And now, this enormous thing. Like, what else could be her goal besides making me look bad? And Sutton says, I was leaning forward. Kyle's like, be quiet, Sutton. Sutton's like, I'm not going to be quiet. I was leaning forward. Kyle says, you're kissing her ass. You have more to say about her Kelly bag than Bose did. And then they like kind of show you her and Bose talking about this Kelly bag that Dorit bought. And all Sutton said was, it could be from the real. It could be like a rent-to-own bag. Like, we'll never know. That's all she said. That is all she said. Dorit says, go on, Kyle. You're just deflecting. Kyle's like, that's not a way to deflect. I'm not deflecting. You're always looking for something with me. Always. Rachel says, well, she cares more about Dorit's like, no. Like, she like stopped Rachel in her tracks from saying whatever she was going to say. But then Rachel kind of like straightens it up a little bit. And, she says she cares more about what you're doing because of the decade of friendship. Erika's yelling at Kyle, like, the rules are not the same. Kyle's like, I know. So Kyle's like, I'm tired of being a punching bag. And Rachel in her confessional, she says, look, Kyle and Dorit, they have deep-rooted issues. Sometimes they're almost like sisters that aren't getting along. And sometimes you're the hardest on the people you're closest to. Erika says, what did you say at lunch? That you could end Kyle. She's talking to Dorit. And then they show you 4 hours earlier where Sutton says, this is what Dorit was saying, I could have ended Kyle. And Erika says, how'd you take it? Sutton says, well, I was really thrown aback by that. And Dorit says, what lunch? With who? Are you kidding? Like, do you have amnesia, Dorit? This was 4 hours ago, But Sutton says, the lunch with me and Rachel. And then they show you where Dorit's at lunch with them, and she's saying, I have protected Kyle for years at all costs, even when I felt betrayed the most when I was hurt. If I took that lead, I would have blown her whole life up. What is she talking about? Like, what do you think she's talking about? I wonder. Dorit says, I can't even fathom what I meant, or me even saying that. Oh, Dorit, this is not the time to play stupid. Really. Kyle's like, were you gossiping about me? Because that's gossip. And, you know, like, what is your real reason? This isn't Kyle's confession. Like, what's her real reason for having resentment towards me? Like, you know, because I didn't jump on the I hate PK bandwagon, or am I a scapegoat for her misery in her life right now? So Kyle says, I don't want you to look for the worst in me. You know, everyone has shared the same opinion, you know, and you're focusing on the negative with me. And I've tried to be there to support you, love your family over and over. And, you know, said nothing. You have said nothing but mean. You've been mean and negative things about me. You know, you made an observation. A lot of people have felt the same way, coming from a place to continue for negative in me. If you keep looking for negative in me, don't be my friend. It's like the best advice Kyle's given, actually. But she kept going on her rant. So Kyle says, I have amazing friends who love me and I love them, and I am done fighting with you. I love you. I wish you the best. I think it's sad that you continue to always try to see the worst in me. Dorit's like, you really believe that, Kyle? Do you believe I'm looking for the worst in you? Erika says, I'm observant here. She's talking to Dorit. This is what I'm feeling. You really feel guarded, protective right now. I don't know that you think that Kyle really cares about you because you feel defensive. Dorit says, yeah. Erika says, but you do not see that this whole group of friends here is supporting you. Bose is like, when she says to Dorit, what support for Dorit do you think that would be best for you? You know, Dorit says to Bose, you have shown me the most support out of anyone in this whole entire group. Well, Erika, that was it for Erika. Erika was like, wow. Kyle's like, wow. Erika, okay, I could see. Kyle, delusional. So Erika says, really? This is in her confessional. She's like, I am beyond mad. Like, are you forgetting history? I have respected the fact that Dorit has not been in a great place. She's been overwhelmed at her absolute limit. But there are limits to my patience. So Erika says to Dorit, you clearly need everyone to come to you and say, I'm mad you kept this. You know, she turns around and goes, and I'm mad at you. I'm mad at you. Where were you? We were waiting for you to come down to this dinner. Like, where were you? Dorit says, I was upstairs checking on my kids. Now you have to remember, allegedly, I heard that Dorit didn't make it to dinner till 3 o'clock in the morning, and they didn't stop filming till like 5 a.m. with this dinner. I'm just saying. So this is what Erika's talking about. So Erika says, you know, oh, great. How long does it take to check on your kids? You know, we all have kids. Why would you keep us waiting? Are your kids more important than anyone else's kids here? Dorit's like, I didn't say that. Erika says, you could have sent a text, say, I'll be down in 5. I'm checking on my kids. Dorit said, I left you guys today. I don't owe you anything. Okay, Dorit. Erika says, you don't owe me anything, but the truth is, none of us like it. She's like, all these people here, they won't tell you, but they don't like it. Dorit says, guess what? You missed the apology earlier. I'll do it again. Erika's like, it's not landing. However loud that however I'll scream louder, but your apology is not landing. While this is going on, like you should see Kyle's face. I mean, she's like grinning from ear to ear. Of course she is. She loves this, by the way. So Sutton's in her confessional says, look, I've been late too. I hate not that I just don't have any, direct concerns about Dorit's behavior. She was buying a bag, being late. She's like, this is all divorce behavior. She's like, I just don't see where it's so super concerning. So Rachel told Dorit, or Rachel saying that I told Dorit that I don't like late. But she's going through a hard time. Erika's like, we're all going through a hard time. It is true. Like, Dorit has always been late. This isn't something new, though. She's always been late. I mean, always. Every season from day one, she's been late. But Dorit turns around and says to Erika, are you going through a rough time? Erika's like, are you kidding me? Like, what do you think it is? Like, my husband went to prison and I have a trial. You think your divorce? That's like the most painful thing? Dorit says, you haven't shared that you're going through a rough time. Erika's like, no, I share with people who I care about me. Dorit's like, I care. Erika's like, now you do. You're raising your voice just to show everyone here. And she says, you raised your voice a lot more. Erika's like, yeah, and I'm going to do it again and again. So then Erika turns around and says, don't ever tell me to shut up. Dorit says, when did I tell you to shut up? She goes, today. So then they show you, the whole between her, Kyle, and Erika. And by the way, Dorit never said shut up. Matter of fact, Erika says, you're not going to stop me from talking. Dorit actually turns around to Erika and says, I'm not trying to tell you to stop talking. That's actually what she said to Erika. Just saying. But this whole sharing thing, this is like cracking the fourth wall a little bit. Because Dorit's been sharing everything. Erika has not shared one single thing this season. Barely shared anything. Barely. A mention here or there. That's about it. I think that's what really Dorit's talking about. Just my opinion. Dorit turns around and says to Erika, when I said you need to work, you need to contribute, I didn't say for you to be and see you next Tuesday. Oh my God. Really, Dorit? You want to go there with Erika? Seriously? Erika's like, I'm the one who brought that word to this group. You're late. So Amanda says, that's not really a word we use in Oklahoma, And Jennifer Tilly's like, Erika's whole, thing that she lives for is like a raison d'etre, which means the reason for being. She's talking about this word she's using. And Erika says, I can get down if I want to. Dorit's like, you're showing it. Erika says, what are you? A pussycat? Dorit's like, no, I'm me. Erika's like, me too. Then she turns around and says, Dorit, you're an asshole, and I'll see you next Tuesday. Like, Erika's on 10 at this point. You know what I mean? It's a little shocking. And so Dorit says, I've been being real. I've been honest. I've been sharing. If you're going through a rough time, you tell me. I want to be there. And, Kyle's sitting at the table and she's like saying, it's all over the news. Well, I'm sitting there thinking, so's your relationship with Morgan Wade, but we're not talking about that. Now, are we, Kyle? But Erika says, I'm going through a rough time. Dorit says, she isn't sharing. She isn't sharing she's going through a hard time. And this is in Dorit's confessional. She says, I only know that she's going through a hard time from the tabloids. She said, a new guy? That's how I found out. A $25 million trial? Yeah, that's how I found out. Erika doesn't open up to me because if she did, I would be there for her. And I do believe that. So Erika says to Dorit, you're not winning. It's not all about, your divorce. Dorit's like, why are you taking it that way? Do you think I deserve a medal for having a shitty time in my life? Like it's a competition? Erika says, you're putting us all through it. So Dorit stands up and she's like, let's do a rewind then. Erika's like, leaving? Dorit said, hell yes. And it's interesting, she's like, you know what I've taken from this separation? I pick and choose who I want to be with. I don't put up with shit like this. I don't have time for it, and I don't like it. Erika's like, you lay everybody out, and now you walk away? So Kathy Hilton, trying to be the mediator here, she starts following Dorit. Dorit right away is like, Kathy, I'm good. I'm good. Kathy's like, you know what? And she's trying to get a word in edgewise, but Dorit is still going off. She's like, when people are assholes, I don't need to be around them. I'm not sitting there for that. I don't love anyone, nor do I trust anyone, nor will I continue to give what I give as a friend to people who behave like that. One thing I've learned, I will stick by. So meanwhile, back at the table, Erika's crying. And Kyle goes over and gives her a hug. And Rachel, under her breath, is looking at Erika crying. And she goes, wow, she looks hot. Bose is like, not now, like to Rachel. But Dorit says, it used to be Kyle not being there for me. This is what she's used to. This is in her confessional. I'm used to Kyle not being there for me. Talking behind my back, not being a girl's girl. But Erika, I really thought I could count on Erika. More important to her now, I see that it's more important to be in Kyle's good graces. Well, of course it is, Dorit. She's on Teddy Mellencamp's podcast. Think about it. She can't cross Kyle. She needs the extra money. She's got to think of herself. That's how that's going. I'm just saying. That's just my opinion. You know what I mean? But Dorit's like, that's what hurts the most. Erika's saying to the table, these two have protected me and helped me. And I don't like to see them fighting. I know she's in a bad place. We all are. And in Erika's confessional, she says, I hate this. Like, I care for her. I have never felt this angry. And I just don't know where our friendship's going to go from here. And Dorit says to Kathy, those days of me grinning and bearing it, those days are over. Meanwhile, Erika's like, this to the table, this isn't healthy for any of us as a person, in a friendship, or even as a group. And Rachel says, I think it's clear that she is overwhelmed. Erika says, I know she's feeling stress, but she has to trust the people that care about her the most and not push them out. And Kathy now is saying to Dorit, look, I feel what you are going through. You feel alone. Dorit says to Kathy, I'm on a mission. That this whole group, she's just on a mission. She wants to get out of there. So she just turns around, walks away from Kathy. But in her confessional, she's saying that Kyle's whole mission was to turn the whole group against her. And she did it, And then Dorit says, I hope you sleep well tonight. And then you see the cameras watching Dorit walk away while she's like smoking a cigarette. That deserves a round of applause. That was a perfect exit. I mean, they should have ended it, the episode right there, to be quite honest, and not kept going. Because that would have been the perfect ending. But I guess they needed more time. So, back in Beverly Hills, Amanda, you see Amanda with her husband. They're still renovating Kyle's old house. Bose's assistant is trying to get her to purge. Sutton's watering her plants and talking to her dogs. And she's like, is this what my life has come to? Is this how it's always going to be? Like me talking to just dogs, which I found funny. Dorit is shooting her book cover, and she's explaining how she needs to nail this book cover because they released the cover before the book is even finished, and that is a strategic marketing process that they do. So now at the book cover shoot, Rachel arrives, Bose arrives. Bose says, in Italy, I think that was unburdening, a play on Dorit's book title. And, she says, when you hear that people are having conversations behind your back, Bose says, it doesn't feel safe or concerning. And then when you feel that way, it feels more like an accusation. And Dorit's like, yes, exactly. Like gossip. I agree. Even though I don't think everybody was talking behind her back. I definitely think Kyle was leading the troops. I mean, Dorit felt that. We saw that. That is how it went down. And Bose is saying in her confessional, the difference between her and Kyle is that she's offering feedback without judgment, where Kyle is offering a lot of feedback with a lot of judgment. When you use triggering words like erratic or manic, they're triggering words, and it pounds judgment on somebody. Rachel says to them both of them sitting there, she says, this is where I struggled in that situation at the table. She's like, I don't want to be grouped in the quote unquote all, talking about what Kyle was saying. And, Dorit's like, but you're not going around to other people in the group. I mean, you might be frustrated that I'm late all the time, but that's not what you're doing. It's very different. I mean, Kyle was bringing the conversation to people and putting it in people's heads, which is absolutely true. And she's explaining how her and Erika have only had one issue. It was the first season they were ever together. And that was the last issue. And they've been friends ever since. Sad, really sad. And, but in her confessional, she says, Eric has been riding the fence between her and Kyle for over a year now. And she has been. She's had to, like I said. She can't offend Kyle the Almighty. Not the person that put her on Teddy's podcast, the one that got her another job. Not Kyle. She can't go against her. And Dorit's in her confessional is saying, like, in private, Erika would say, like, she's wrong for texting PK. But would she say that to Kyle's face? No. And in Italy, Erika showed where her loyalties lied. And that was with Kyle. So then Rachel says, well, on a lighter note, it's my birthday now. I normally don't celebrate my birthday, but I usually have a party, which usually means have a great year, and in 6 months I'll see you. Rachel and Bose are like, no, girl, we're having a party. So then we see Rachel with her son Kai. He's 14. He's gotten his first job. He's working retail at Magoo's. In the meantime, his mother's probably spending several $1,000s in the store worth of clothes for him. I'm just saying. But she says, just because he comes from privilege, he needs to learn responsibility and work. She had a job in retail. She worked at 9 West when she was 15. So why not her children? She also was saying that she likes to keep an open conversation with her children. She's expressed this before, especially with Kai, because he's the one that doesn't really open up a lot. So she always wants to make sure that, she's asking more questions with him. But it's her birthday. The theme is Studio 54, disco party. Natalie arrives first. I think that Natalie might have been more of an important person in the group, but they've kind of slowly put her behind the scenes here. She just shows up here or there. Then Amanda and Kyle and Sutton arrive. Then Erika, I love how Rachel's son, was like, your hair looks like Dolly Parton. And Erika was like, thank you, I love Dolly Parton, So Bose and Dorit are driving together, and she's like, how do you feel? And Dorit says it was a hard day because this was her children's first day of school. They've been homeschooled for 5 years. So her one child had a lot of anxiety, got home from school crying, and that kind of took it out of her. But Bose and Dorit show up at the party. And Rachel says it's either going to be a love fest or a boxing ring, but right now there's a dance floor with disco balls. And that's where the episode ends. So what do you think, Breakers? Okay, let's rate this. What number of a rating would you give this episode? I would give it a solid 8.5. I thought it was really good. There was a lot to unpack in this dinner. Listen, Dorit's not perfect, but I have a lot to say. Dorit's not perfect by any means. I also think she runs her mouth a little bit more than she should. She always has been. Her being late, she has always been late. This is not a new issue either. But Kyle has been on a mission. I mean, she has expressed to everyone that she's erratic, she's manic, she's out there buying things left and right. Could it be OCD or something? She has mentioned this to everyone in the group. We know that she went to Erika and Amanda with the whole, how she's treating PK's situation. I mean, she has just been doing one layer after another layer after another layer to really just give it to Dorit. And I do think it's to make Dorit look bad in the light, to be quite honest. She's in the middle of a divorce with PK, who happens to be her husband still. his best friend. Don't tell me she's not talking to PK. And she might not be talking to him daily, but her husband is. And I guarantee you, Mo is telling Kyle everything that PK is saying. And by the way, Dorit has been sharing all season. She's put her feelings out there. She's really just brought it out, which I love. I love this new Dorit. But let me tell you something. I said this before. Kyle had bought this house in Tennessee, and everyone was like, why Tennessee? Duh. Because it goes back to what Dorit said on Watch What Happens Live, that Kyle and Morgan Wade kind of break up while they're filming, and then they get back together when they're not filming. And this seems to be true because they were caught red-handed by a witness that was talking all about seeing them. This does not surprise me any. Kyle has not spoken about Morgan. Nobody was allowed to even say her name, for crying out loud, one season. Do you remember that? So talk about not sharing. And yeah, in the beginning of the season, Kyle said, oh, I fell in love with somebody, but, it was, me being in the public that, kind of ended things. Baloney. Hello, Morgan Wade is in the public. I don't think it had anything to do with that, to be quite honest. I'm just saying. But this whole season, and I've said it through the whole season, Kyle has definitely been going after Dorit. She has talked behind her back. She has said words like manic, OCD. She has said everything. She's overspending. She's erratic. I mean, this does put Dorit in a bad light for somebody who's going through a public divorce with your husband's best friend. I'm just saying. And meanwhile, it is a deflection. Dorit's right. Because if she can throw all this mud at Dorit, then no one's going to look at her. Because this whole season, she hasn't shared anything. She hasn't shared anything for several seasons. Let's be real. You know what I mean? Just because she said one statement of, what do you want to know? If I could go Brad or Angelina, I could go either way. Oh, Kyle, thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing something that we as the fans already knew, that your cast already knew, people on Mars already knew. She's really getting to me. She really is. And of course, Erika is going to have to side with Kyle. Of course she is. Hello, she's on Teddy's podcast. Who do you think got her that job? Hi, Kyle. How are you? Teddy's best friend. She's not going to turn her back on Kyle and agree with Dorit. She needs the money. She needs the extra job. She's got to think of herself. I'm just saying. That's just my opinion. Just my opinion, that's all. But what did you guys think? I would love to continue this conversation with the comments below. And before you do, make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss any of our videos, any of our recaps, or any of our Dish the Tea. Right? And make sure you have a great weekend. Because don't forget, here, we break the dish.